So we'll open the meeting of the Council on Aging and
I said,
go through the agenda.
okay,
Usually that's what you'll announce, just opening the meeting and
Okay.
then move to your agenda items.
all right, let's open the meeting and let's go through the agenda, but first we can approve the minutes, correct?
Yep.
A motion to,
The minutes.
so moved. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That's that. We did the minutes. And I have this. Okay, so we are scheduled to do a review on the grand reopening. We had 81 attendees, including our volunteers. Hey, Jack. Jack, take a seat.
Say hello. I want to, because I had shoes on. Oh, okay. Hi, how are you?
You're on.
You're on camera.
Oh, I'm sorry. Glad I have shoes.
Jack, you're on that chair.
Good stuff.
The board sits up here.
Shelley.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
All right, Jack needs
I'm glad I put my makeup on.
that. Director job
Yeah.
description, and he needs that
Sorry to be a few minutes late.
and that.
No worries.
Okay, we just approved the minutes from September, which you have a copy, but we had a forum, so we voted on that. Hi, Andrea. We are now down to updates on the grand reopening. We had 81 people. Everyone seemed to have a nice time. Any thoughts?
Prone as I am to details, it was actually September 21st that we met, not October 21st for the grand reopening.
Oh, okay, glad you're here. All right, we will fix that.
87 people?
81 people, including our volunteers. Thank you all for helping and our volunteers for helping. It was very successful. We did have people sign up that did not come, but that happens. The leftover food went to our police and highway department, correct?
And town hall.
And town hall.
That's spread around.
Town hall. The food was delicious, delicious. We do have the event survey, the results of that. The most votes, interestingly enough, was for day trips. We had 8 votes. The number 1 was day trips. Number 2 is bridge, so we need to work on that. And we do have those 2 sisters that are willing to teach it. So we need to get going on that. Yoga, which we offer, so we have that. And Teresa also got 2 emails requesting bridge, cribbage, and Zumba.
Oh.
Little Zumba, Jack?
Pardon me?
A little Zumba for you?
Never,
Never. Okay.
never.
Now, we don't have to approve anything with that, right?
No, I mean, there's nothing to approve there as far as
Right.
the bridge and cribbage. If you guys want to set times and dates. So right now, we are not booking the senior center room for anything other than senior center activities. So I know in the past it's been used for all types. We have plenty of other rooms that other groups can use. So that room is your guys to be scheduled out. So if you want to look at the schedule that we have right now, you can see all the extra time. So if you do want to have one of you get in contact with, say, the sisters there that were interested in teaching bridge, if they have a day or time that they want to, you can just let me know. I can drop it on the schedule, and that way it's on the schedule so we don't, double book things, so you guys would have access to it. But that room is open to you guys. The only other thing I know we were planning on starting was set a couple times and days for indoor walking and open up the gym. That's something we'll set up, still administratively right now. But the gym obviously is slightly different. That can be used by lots of groups. But like I said, as far as programming within your own room, that's,
Speaking of that, my next subject, which isn't exactly on the agenda, is November's affair. I did meet with Joshua from the library. We had a great discussion, and he is going to speak on November 16th, a Wednesday, at 3:00, because he is a teacher. For those that you
Just
don't.
grabbing a pen.
No, he is the assistant curator and genealogist at the Museum and Archives. He was born and raised in Stockbridge, so he was so fascinating for me to talk to. He's going to discuss Stockbridge history and relate it to Thanksgiving in November. So he's going to give me a little write-up so we can publicize it by Monday, because we're on a bit of a time crunch with this. I'm well aware of that, and we will pull this off and get it advertised better. And we're going to have, where it's at 3:00, we're going to have apple pie and pumpkin pie, coffee and tea. I can handle a pumpkin pie. I can do that, but everyone needs to know I'm not going to slice open pumpkins. It's going to be from a can. And Diane has volunteered to do apple pie. So that's the hard work, and I appreciate that. So if everyone approves of doing that, do I need to do a motion for that?
Well, I would like to propose an addition to that, that I think that I'd like everybody's opinion on, and probably we'll need a vote. I've contacted some people who would love to lead a community sing of Alice's Restaurant at that meeting, because there's nothing more Stockbridgian and Thanksgiving than Alice's Restaurant. And the thought that I had with those and discussed with the folks is that we would hand out verses or chapters to a variety of people. And one of the persons who volunteered would be playing guitar under the whole thing. And then we'd take a microphone around and you would read one verse, the next verse, the next verse. And at the end, beginning and end, we'd come together with, you can get anything you want. And I was, okay. So before even tapping that, for the longtime Stockbridgians, is there anything negative about that? I mean, they say,
I don't think so.
okay.
Sounds fun. Doesn't it sound fun?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sound fun.
now it's 18 minutes and 32 seconds long. So, so in piecing together the program, we'd have to make.
Josh said he would speak for 45 minutes to an hour, and he felt that was plenty of time.
Okay.
And then he probably will have a little question and answer. So we could do that afterwards and publicize that also, because that sounds like a lot of fun. Agreed?
it's your guys' decision.
Yeah,
problem.
sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, shall we vote on that? All in favor? Oh, no. Second it?
Second.
And what
First it, second
what
it.
we're voting on is the whole program, that we have the guest
Yes.
speaker and the Alice's Restaurant,
Yes.
community sing, and the
Yes.
food. That's what
Yes.
we're voting on.
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor, say
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
okay.
And it's a 3:00 start,
It's a 3:00 start.
because one of the gentlemen is a music teacher and has a band rehearsal right at 3. So he'll be walking in time for it. Okay.
Next, we have the communication plan, the infamous communication plan. We need to review
You mean
the.
lack of.
What's that?
Lack of.
Lack of, yes. I skipped the October 19th event, which went well with our police.
Yep.
We may have had more police than we had guests.
You had a few more guests than police, but not by much.
We did have, let me see, I think I wrote that down. Many of our officers attended. We had 6 attendees. But they had a wonderful time, the
I think they
ladies.
did, yeah.
Communicating with our police. The police seemed to have a good time too. They informed on scams for our elderly and any other questions that popped up. And they love the pizza when, offer food and people will come. So the pizza was delicious. Michael picked it up from Big Y, so that was awesome. And overall, other than not having enough people, so now let's get on to communication. What I'd like to do to advertise this next event more effectively is to send out flyers. I know that can be costly, but we can print the address stickers here. We can get in bulk envelopes and the paper, and it's just up to, if anyone's great with technology, maybe Andrea in our audience, to draw up the flyers, and then we'll get them printed and we'll mail them out.
And also word of mouth, because I got talked to a few people that they just did not know it.
They just did not know.
Or if they got it, the card went at Taven and they never remembered.
Well, and we advertised it at the Congregational Church newsletter, and we did it someplace else.
Well, I know you had
Carol
sent
Owens
something, but it
paper.
didn't get in, remember? It
Right.
didn't get
Right.
in. So
So I think we need to reach out to every registered voter and send them a flyer.
So the question then becomes, so when we think about communication plans, so just roughly, if we have 700 homes that we're sending it to, that's about $350 per event if we're sending home mailings. And if we're talking about at least once a month doing a home mailing, you're looking at close to $4,000 a year just spent on postage.
Well, let me add this. We'll do it until you're thinking in January, we'll have a better system up.
Well, even
For
though it's
people
still
to
a
do
better
it online.
email system, I think that I think we need to find, my honest opinion is that even a mail home flyer, you got to hit that perfect. If it comes too soon, it
Right.
gets thrown away.
Right.
If it comes too late, people have already made plans. So mailing flyer, we need to blitz for the next couple of weeks, the next advertisement.
Right.
So how do we do that? One can be such as, we know the select board gets quite a few views and write-ups. We need to make sure that there's now a public announcement piece, which I can have the chairman announce the upcoming events.
All right.
That will get that out. I can also ask, I also thought that it might not be a bad idea to send it around a couple of our other boards and see if they would just do as a reminder part during their meetings, announcing upcoming events.
Okay.
This could help get the news out. Second, a press release, not just a simple, which I would do. If you give me the information, what the write-up is, I'll send it to the Berkshire Eagle, the Berkshire Edge, and updates.
Okay.
And ask them to put it in. Now, in order to hit the 16th, we're gonna want that in the November 1st and November 15th updates.
Right.
That will get the communication out in a very timely manner. Putting it in the Congregational Church or any of those other newsletters, that anybody that has newsletters where people are going, I think those will be the most effective ways. On the police one, the last one we just didn't, and we need to get ahead of this, because as we have others, like when we have trips, are we going to mail out flyers for every trip when we're announcing trips? We got to think of a plan that we don't want to end up using a bulk of our money just on mailers. We need to think of how to.
And having said that, I think if we do a flyer for Josh coming, and we do a flyer for the Red Lion Inn luncheon event.
And I was going to say, can we think of who we're bringing in for December? So that we're trying to get.
Right, and we do need to, we'll,
There's the fire chief for December.
Yeah, I had.
Fire safety.
Fire.
I've said before, though, if you guys have something else, use the
Right.
town officials, myself, the chiefs and the rest is your backup. If you have nothing else planned, we can plug them in. So if we want to put it out in a mailer quickly and we want to advertise the rest of this year, basically,
Right.
then we need to think of the December one. I can reach out right after this meeting and confirm that the chief will be there that day and just have him come over and speak. I could also ask emergency management and the fire chief to come. I'm sure he'll come over. One of us knows who he is. And ask them to come to the December one if that's what you like.
Okay.
Because that one I can just plug in unless you're thinking something else fits
Well,
better.
I
We
was-
can go over safety around the holidays, walk,
True, true.
ice on the roads, changing out your smoke detectors, because it's always recommended you do that January 1st.
Yep.
So it'd be a good time to reiterate when things like that happen, unless you'd rather hold, but if we want to put it in the, like I said, if we want to do one flyer for the next couple of months,
We could do that.
Could we do a calendar for the next couple of months?
well, I don't think we're there yet. I think that our next meeting, we need to talk about, the next mailer should be the calendar for like January through like July, something that we can send. We got to think about how, that somebody could put on their fridge. That
Right.
would have, here's,
In big letters,
Yeah.
please save.
yeah. Well, and whether or not we look at what a lot of people do, those political flyers, I mentioned, those types that are colorful, that are
Right.
something that people would be willing. A lot of the pieces of paper aren't going to end up on fridges. You need to send something a little more, but I think we need to think that for January.
Right.
We need to think about how to get through the next 2 months. And
Right.
that. And in the flyer, we should have all the classes, the yoga and all those that are happening. Put
Right.
that in there along with the November, December event and the Red Lion.
Right.
So, and if we hit all that, then I think that mailing, all that, we do. And
We
then
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I'm
Okay.
saying is I don't want to
After
get into
that,
every
I understand.
event or month mailing because that
Right.
will get, that's where we'll be spending all of our money. I
Right.
think we'd rather spend it on things that may be able to support seniors and other stuff. So,
Well, I think it's important to do it up and through December for the events, because I think once we get a following, word of mouth is going to take care of a lot of it also.
Yeah.
Because once we get more people to come, they'll say, hey, that was a great program and so-and-so, you should have gone. As simple as that.
Yep.
So, yeah, so I agree, we don't need to do it for the next year. But
Can I make one suggestion? Do we have a record of who attended the grand opening event? And maybe you can target those people directly with a flyer? Like 100.
so going forward, part of our plan should be getting emails, things like that. If people do email or text, and I know we talked about that. Who
We
does,
talked
who
about that
doesn't?
was a
But
big
surprisingly,
boo-boo
a lot of
that
them
we
do.
didn't.
Yeah, we missed that
That-
because
yeah.
if people do use, we need to start creating our own internal database around that. So,
And for the last event with the police, I did get everybody's name, address, phone, email for all 6 ladies that came. So it's a work in
It's a
progress now.
progress.
And the grand
Excuse me,
go ahead.
I think you're dismissing, you guys are moving so quickly, we're missing a bunch of stuff here, okay?
Yeah, we're going to go back to some things.
No, right here, okay? So what we're trying to do is put together some kind of marketing plan here,
Right.
okay? And so far, it's been suggested that we use methods, okay? But then we just mentioned it and went on. So I think that if we discuss each of the things that we just brought up, for example, you mentioned Congressional Church for newsletters. Where else should we send it?
Right.
what other newsletters are in town?
Now you have St. Paul's
All right.
Church.
Did they have a newsletter too?
We don't have a permanent director, but
Right, but I mean, do they have bulletins?
they do
or-
most of theirs by email. Most of their
So if
info.
we ask them to send something around.
And so is there,
Yep,
so St. Paul's we should contact?
yep.
Okay, and where else could we use the newsletter, whether it be electronic or print, or somebody who announces it to, Michael beautifully mentioned that we'll have announcements at each of the town boards. Okay. So what other places could we tap in terms of newsletters or announcements?
I heard that there's a newsletter for the Laurel Hill Association.
Okay.
And there was another.
They may have an email database too, because some may not want to fill up their stuff with our stuff.
Okay.
But if they, especially if they have an email list and they're just willing to send out a list on our behalf, you know, we need to set up the email. I don't mind working with somebody. We should have one format that we're sending it out.
Right.
And that,
And would you handle that or work with one of us to?
yeah, I'd work with one or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'd like to work on it. I mean, I'll help with it, but I'm technology challenged.
Me too.
Do you mind if we complete the thought and then we'll give the distribution of work?
Okay.
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's fine.
For what Andrew just mentioned, I think just dismissing that we made a mistake is dangerous and wrong. We certainly have at least names of everyone who contacted Teresa or some form of identification. And if one of us were actually to track that down, we could create a way to get to each of the people. And the 6 that were there at the last meeting, we've already tapped. Okay?
Right.
And so is there a source of the list of the name? Didn't they sign in at the?
I do have the list of people that signed in.
Okay, well, if worse come to worse, one of us could go to 411 and find out a telephone number, or because telephone books don't exist, you know. But I think that with some research, we can recreate that entire group and how to contact them.
Right.
And that would be another major part of our work. Okay. And have we agreed then that the flyer would be multiple months or each month? Because it seems to be a discretion.
My recommendation to you guys is to take care of the next 2 months, November and December.
With one,
With one, as far as mailing home. So let's differentiate, if you guys agree, that we should differentiate the mailing home, which has a cost to it, compared to, like, we can send for email groups and other things, like, say, when I do press releases, I can do a press release just on the November lunch, you know, guest speaker and the rest. That doesn't have to be all together. I'm saying the mailer if we're going to mail to go home, that one, in my opinion, we should take care of November and December, because we should be thinking at least that far out. And then, like I said, develop our second mailer for January, which would take care of January, February, and March. And then another mailer that would do April, May, and June. So basically you break up the year in 2 seasons, but that means we got to stay ahead, which, to be honest, means when you're in the beginning of fall, you're planning.
Sure.
You're planning winter's flyer.
Yeah.
Right.
When you're in beginning of winter, you're planning the spring flyer, but we're not there yet. We'll get there.
And the reason that you're saying let's combine months is exclusively cost, or you think that that's the most effective way?
I think it's the most effective along with these other ones. I don't think every month sending a mailer home.
but we're only talking the next 2 months. I think if we sent a colorful flyer for the Thanksgiving one with Josh and the pies and make it look real Thanksgiving-ish, when they open that up, that's what they're seeing, and they'll remember that. For December's Red Lion Inn, we'll do something winterish, and
But we
they'll
need to get the Red Lion Inn out now,
right.
because we need people signing up.
Exactly, but we'll do that at the end of November, because as you said, we don't want to do it too early, we don't want to do it too late. So if we mailed that out the end of November, when the event is,
And then we're going to mail out one for December.
Yeah.
So we're already spending over $1,000 in the next 2 months on just flyers.
You should do the Red Lion now, right? Because we have to gather names.
We have to gather who's interested and then our format, how we're going to do it.
Right.
Right.
Whom do you
Serve
contact
counter this,
to
right?
sign up for the red light?
Yes, there's.
I don't mind if we have
88.
people submit their names via, they can call the Council on Aging number, leave their name, tell them to leave their name and up to 2 tickets they can apply for, because it could be per couple. And then we're going to do a lot, if we have more than people sign up, then it will be a lottery.
Right.
That's the way I recommend we do it.
I think it's always very popular. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to lack people.
Right. And if December we're bringing the fire department in, I do think just announcing the December one in this next flyer gets us through. I think one flyer can take care of the next couple of months.
Okay.
And that, and then we need to evaluate next month how things like this are working. How well does, I think that's what we have to look at.
Right.
If we didn't do any of this for the police one. We sort of counted on the fact that we tried to get some things in, they didn't get in. We're going to do a much better job of getting them in, making sure they're out there, and then seeing what we get for attendance at this. And then one of the questions we may want to ask as people show up is, how did you hear about it?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
identifying exactly what's working is also what we need to do. Andrea, you have a mailing or email list and the rest, so there's Heaton Court too. There's another one we need to send it to.
Right.
So
Right.
that's at least my thing. I don't think we do 3. I don't think we need to do a separate one for the Red Lion. I think you can do it with the next one going out, because we need people to start signing up now.
Okay.
Because we need to get the names to them ahead of time.
Okay.
For the tickets.
Okay.
I know there are several people at Heaton Court that enjoy the Red Lion one, so
Right.
just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Okay, so what's been suggested is that we do a holiday flyer, a 2-month flyer to let everybody know. But then according to Chris, and I happen to agree with her, what would be the follow-up to that to make to really hit the holiday one? Okay, so if Chris, if you're okay with doing a big blast flyer for 2 months, then I think we have to follow up on something that is equally as effective as a flyer might be, and probably getting the list of those people who were at the November one and going and increasing word of mouth by literally following up to them and say, great to see you. Are you coming? Okay. So we have more of a direct approach for December, and we won't spend the money on that. We can spend it on dessert. I don't know. So, yeah, so a real splash bang flyer that has both the fall colors and a holiday kind of presentation, right?
There's a combination. Huh?
Yeah. Okay. Does that work for you?
Frosty the Snowman and a Sharky.
Yeah, okay, so, pardon me for sort of stepping in here, but as you guys.
Thrilled that you have.
As you guys were going, I'm saying we need an overview here, okay? So, now I think we can, if everybody's happy with this, we can divide up the workforce. I mean, like, who will work with Michael on the flyer? You're great at stuff like that.
No. I'm not, I'm really challenged as far as technology goes, so
Okay.
I wouldn't be the best person.
Okay, so I'll work with you and.
All right, we'll work on getting a flyer together. We need the information about,
I'll get the
The-
information. I'll stick my nose
time.
into it. Yeah.
I'll line up I'll call the fire chief after this, line him up. If not, I will line up another town department.
Okay.
That'll get us through the next 2.
Okay.
With again, my purpose in being here, play a holiday sing, because people have requested that as a part of the Red Lion Inn, we, have a holiday sing along. Okay.
And then announce signups for the Red Lion.
Yeah.
So if those 3 things are on the flyer,
Okay.
bam, we've got our flyer done.
Okay. Bye. What?
Well, since it's the 16th, I think we need to get probably by the first week in November,
That's what I have.
Which is Tuesday.
which would be the end of next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I think that's doable.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yes.
And then I will follow up in the meantime with, as far as the events, I'll plan on sending both, to the, like I said, the Eagle, the Edge, and, Stockbridge updates announcing our next
Okay.
event, so that they put, and I'll just basically take the piece off the wording off the flyer and send it to them and say, hey, I'll probably condense it because they're gonna want it nice and small, short and sweet, right to the point. And here's this, that. So if we got that, and the announcement at the,
And as you and I are working, let's make sure that we get it done in time to run it by these folks and say, what do you think? You
I
know,
don't know if we're gonna have time.
Right.
yeah, you know.
Well, you can't, no, no,
Yeah,
you're aboard now. So either you're doing it with me, or we're scheduling a board meeting for
Oh.
not next Friday, the Friday after.
I think we all
Trust
trust
you.
and we can
Both.
approve that you do it. Mind you, can I have my nose in it too?
Yeah. So the two of you are gonna work with me on a flyer. It's not a quorum of the board. We'll flyer together and get it out.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
how about the direct approach, building, finding out, getting the numbers and emails or texting for the people who were here at November, and also doing research on the names of the folks who were here for September. And I mean, somehow they made contact. So,
Right,
and
and-
Diane knows most of them, and Ron knows the other ones, you know.
Right. And I do have that list, and I had planned on working off that list. Now, that's Chris McCarthy taking on and doing things without realizing she has a board, and we could split that up.
Well, absolutely.
So you and I
Yes.
can work off those names and Ron and develop phone numbers and such.
Right. And the people that you know.
Sound good?
Yeah, and so that direct approach would be a text or phone call? What do you think?
Sure.
Yeah.
I
Which would
think
work?
either or, yeah.
Both, maybe? Or both.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Diane, Ron, and I can do that.
And how about the newsletter piece, getting out to members of the community, the community organizations, Congregational Church, St. Paul's and Laurel Hill?
I can do that.
Are we sending them just a copy of the flyer?
Okay.
Because I think if it's email, like Andrew, if we send you just the flyer in the electronic format, you can send it to all your,
I can, or sometimes we print them and stick them in their mailboxes.
There you go.
and hang them up on their bulletin boards.
yeah. Are the church ones electronic? We think one's an electronic one. So would just ask them to send it to all their
Right.
individuals. So,
You could contact George about St. Paul's.
all right. Yep.
You know who George is?
Yeah.
And I can actually contact LHA and just say, would you guys be willing to send our flyer around your email distribution list?
Great.
And
Okay.
yeah,
All right. And I have a good contact relationship with Will from the Congregational Church.
yeah. And find out if they need it for their printed one or just, do they have an email? Because I know a lot of places now have created distribution lists. So
Right, okay. Okay,
Can we get, are they, is the newsletter could be print or could be posted on bulletin boards around town?
Yeah.
You know, the library's got one, the post office.
I think, we
you can't
forgot
do the
about that.
post office.
I need to contact Wendy about a couple other things. I will ask her about the library distribution list.
yes.
I believe they have
They do,
an
they do.
extensive
Yeah.
email distribution list. So if we could get them the flyer about our upcoming events, would they be willing to send it around through their distribution list?
Good thought.
And I do personally agree with also physical flyers. You know, whether some of the businesses in town would put them up or, you know, at the library or wherever you guys think it'd work.
Well, in that case, I think, I mean, I wouldn't know what works. But I mean, when I spoke with my insurance agent, he said, just stand on a corner, tell the people to sit on the wall.
Put Ron in charge of that one. Ron will find local places to put up flyers.
You would be good at that.
I'm out of that business.
Okay, so the communication plan that we've put together is multifaceted, okay? I think we know who's going to be doing what. The only thing that I would love to discuss a bit and clarify is consistency of calendar. And knowing where that's going to be advertised and once it is consistent, are we going to include the calendar on the back of the flyer or?
I think we should. It shows all of our events.
Yeah.
And we can take a look at that and see if we could dress it up a little bit
Okay.
so that, yeah.
The scheduling of the events, is it usually according to when the leader can make it or the instructor can make it or?
Usually, yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay. Because I've heard some suggestions in trying to stay away from every other week in things like yoga because you forget which week it is.
Yes, and we actually had that happen where we had people show up because we had a fifth week, which then all of a sudden it's not every other week, as if they're coming the first and
Yeah.
second. So it gets, I do agree. I think we have to reach out to our instructors and say, for our senior programs, it needs to be once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah. I do think once you get in, special events are different.
Sure.
But if you're planning on coming to a class, I do think it is, if we're going to grow the class. And we're paying the instructors, so, we're paying them to come. So it's not like they're being paid per person that shows up, so.
And whose responsibility is it to get in touch with those instructors? Is it yours, Michael? Because, I mean, we're just. I know, we're piling on.
So that's probably when we get into it. So right now, I think we have to hold pat I think we should hold what we have right now for a schedule for November and December. And then I think we need to focus on filling this position and then.
But why couldn't we get in touch with a yoga instructor and say, can you change it to every week for the month of November?
We'll contact them and ask them that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of them. I know the other one's every week, but then the other one's, right, was every other.
Okay.
Right.
And as we approach the new classes, we would like bridge, say, let's do this, every week and walking every week or, again,
The walking one's gonna be easy. It'll just be us going down and opening up the gym. And then the gym will be available for people to come and walk as the weather changes. So we don't mind setting up like 3 days a week where we'll be opening up the gym, and between these hours, the gym's available for people to come and walk.
what do we think would be right for that?
Again, this is where you and I disagree. We need a leader for that, someone to,
Then you guys figure out who the leader's gonna be for that.
exactly, and I'll do
because it's
that.
not gonna
Originally, I
be-
was going to do it
right.
with Nancy. I will do that, and I need to get going on that,
For walking,
for walking,
when
yes.
do you want to begin it?
Looking at- in-
Hey, Chris.
I mean, listen, I'm a New Yorker, but I think if we're gathering here and say, well, we could do it, let's, it'll never get done, but.
Right.
So.
You're right. You're absolutely right, and that's why I said I should get going on
Starting
that.
after Thanksgiving, what days? Because if the flyer's not going out till next Friday,
Right.
we need to, yeah. So
All right.
after Thanksgiving, the week after Thanksgiving, what's our schedule for walking groups? What, are you thinking it's morning is better?
Morning, absolutely morning.
Because we have yoga in the afternoon in the gym.
Right,
Because
so
they
it'll be a-
prefer to be in the gym.
A morning
So-
group, say maybe a Tuesday, Thursday thing. But I also have to look at my schedule before I make any promises.
Well, the flyer's not going to be together till next
Okay,
Friday.
all right.
Right.
So I'm going to put stars all on this. Pick a
I
day.
don't think it just has to be you. It could be any board member coming for that one day, just.
Right, but
Welcome
there
to
should be a
the-
face for people to say, oh, I don't feel like going, but Chris will be disappointed, or more so Diane, Diane's there and yeah, I don't want to
You
disappoint.
got to look at the weather aspect too, as to whether people,
Can't be really weather. That's why I think you started after Thanksgiving. You just say the gym's open
Right,
these days for walking.
Right.
Exactly.
and that, and hopefully people just take advantage of it.
Right.
Because there's no way we can get the word out weather-wise. So
Right.
here are the senior walk days. If you're a senior, come down and join us. You know, whether you want to put some music on it while people are
Oh, definitely.
walking and stuff like that, we can do all that.
So are you okay taking the leadership with that and, but putting us as your substitute if you
Sure.
can't make it? 'Cause-
No, sure. Originally Nancy and I were going to do it and then
Yeah.
we didn't.
Yeah, because I personally don't want to commit to that, but if you're in
No, that'll be my-
UMass Amherst, of
Okay.
course I'll come.
All right, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Andrea,
Are we talking about programming now? Because I have had a couple of people reach out to me and I was waiting for this meeting,
All right.
to pass it along to see what she wanted to do. I have, somebody, poetry reading, Leslie Klein. She also can do some kind of, I think she does pottery and she has a slideshow about her art and then she reads from her poetry book. She's very interested. I have a Nanette Wells. I think we're gonna book her up there at Heaton Court to do a craft for Valentine's Day. She's super excited. She makes some great things out of repurposed books.
Hey, chief.
She just did something at
now what's her name? Ann Wells?
Nanette Wells. She just did something at Great Barrington where they took old books and turned them into pumpkins. Very cute.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
So, and there's a professional piano player named Mary Minette. And I wanted to ask, because I know we have this partnership now with Heaton Court. If I wanted to book some of these and didn't have the funding, would, this committee be willing to support it?
Right.
Heaton Court.
So,
The Mary Lady for Christmas specifically. A Christmas deal. But anyway.
the Christmas deal would be for whom?
Well, to do it at
Which venue?
Heaton Court. To do it at Heaton Court, of course, but anybody could attend.
Oh, okay.
And we were talking about programming, so I just wanted to.
Well, I love that you brought these names, Nanette and I want to find somebody to do great crafts. I think that would bring people out.
Right.
Would she be doing it and donating her time? And then we have to get involved with supplies and,
No, but I think she'd be willing to do it for an hourly rate. I feel like she did a 3-hour class for $50 at Great Barrington.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, she's just like super excited. She's also hoping that she could get a little bit for materials. I tried to pin her down. I feel like she didn't want to tell me. She's like 10 and under. So I was trying to say, well, tell me, does it cost $5? Does it cost $7?
because we could have people, we could say a $5 charge.
Yeah, pay
Or
for
whatever.
their supplies or whatever.
Right, pay for your supplies. But she sounds awesome.
And my suggestion, oh, sorry.
I could hear it. I'll say that's why this is the example of what I'd rather spend the money on than the flyers. If we can figure out how, like I said,
Dessert is
the
coming.
difference between doing $4,000 worth of flyers and difference between, say, doing 4 a year costing us about $1,000 is a big difference. And then we can invest in these type of programs.
But can you tell us what our budget is? I mean, we just go to you and you're the grand wizard.
Yeah, so right now, we do have quite a bit because we didn't spend anything the last 2 years. The state isn't asking for their money back. So we have money from the state grant that
Right.
is available for us to just continue to use for programming.
And is there a cutoff date that it has to be spent by or?
10 year, I think they said like 10, no, within 10 years, I believe it is. So it's like, yeah.
No, right.
Yeah.
So they
The new board will handle
You
that.
got it.
they expect the money, but they all know that for 2 years,
Yeah.
minimal spending was done.
Are you allowed to give a ballpark figure? Are we
I
talking?
don't have it in front of me. I will get it to the board. I'll send it just as informational, and then we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Right.
And
On the payment of these instructors, with the request payment and such, is there a set amount?
we've been doing $50 a class, so, for an instructor. That includes their prep time, so if they have to come before or after, I think, Jack,
Yeah.
So, yeah, so she wants to figure out what the class would be. We'd expect her to show up ahead of time, set up for the class, conduct the class, and then the cleanup afterwards. So, yeah.
I suggest that we follow a model that we've already succeeded with in terms of the craft person to book her for the January event.
Yes.
And have everybody be introduced to her and then set up the class after that kickoff.
Like a 6-week, she might be interested in maybe doing something for 6 weeks.
We might want to talk to her ahead of time, and even though we have because if we're going to put the flyer out for January, February, March.
Right.
Then we'd actually want to know what her class schedule would be.
Right.
So I'd love to,
Okay.
yeah,
We could introduce her maybe at the November affair
or the December.
or the December, but I'm thinking.
Chief
if-
is available, so we're all set.
Oh, okay.
I saw him
Okay.
leaving, that's why I hollered chief.
I figured that's what you were
So I
doing.
figured since I might as well not, I said, are you going? He said, no, he's not. He'd love to come.
Great.
So.
Great.
fired
Okay,
on
so
the fly.
check that off.
That's-
Yay.
That's confirmed.
Okay, what's that?
I'm not trying to be high maintenance at your meeting, but the part about the budgeting for doing things up there at Heaton Court, I am wondering if the town or the Council on Aging would be willing to pay for some of these events there, as long as it's open to everybody else. If that's gonna continue.
I think you guys can do that. The location is secondary to the programming, as long as obviously it's open to any Stockbridge resident that
My
is willing to go.
concern is if we do have Nanette, I don't think Heaton's site is big enough if we get a good response. We've never offered any kind of craft things to the men and women.
True.
I think,
No, I think Nanette would come here. I may
Oh.
do something with her up there. I had a meeting with about 9-10 residents and they were all like, let's just do stuff here. Even though I've really been trying to,
Yeah, they don't want to leave.
Integrate
Once they get up, they
I'm
don't want to
really
leave.
trying to encourage them to come down here because, it's such a nice facility here. It's big and spacious. Certainly, yes, Nanette for here, but I was thinking more along the lines of, the Christmas thing, the piano lady, Leslie Klein, the poetry, that could be for here.
I think we can do some special events up at Heaton Court.
Right.
And then if the program, which one do we do now? One of the,
Jack,
The precedent is that I've been doing it, Heaton.
yeah. Is there anything else happening up there right now?
We're trying to limp along the lunch program and, Antoinette, yoga on Mondays.
Yoga. I was gonna say, I thought one of the yogas was up there.
and do you get anyone from the community to go to that?
The yoga, yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure what her name is, but,
Oh, one woman.
well, there's two. Sometimes I think it's Nancy Wilcox. Is she the one who does brown bag?
Yes. Okay.
The other lady was there. I think somebody said her name was Jean. Not sure.
I think the more we can develop the relationship between Heaton Court and
Right.
Council on Aging as,
Think of classes. What is your
5.
5?
And as far as space goes, I mean, we could probably get 2 more in there.
Where down here, you could get 10, 15. Actually, you set up.
So what's your suggestion for the usage of the people who are already excited that you do one in December and one in January? Is that what you said? 'Cause I missed it. Did you say the craft person would come in December to Heaton Court?
I think we're thinking about the craft lady up there the end of January, beginning of February to do a Valentine angel.
Yeah.
And would you mind if we,
Absolutely not. I
double her
think she's
up.
really interested in doing something. It's not something I can do all the time.
Yeah.
right, but could we steal that thought of yours that you wanted to do a Valentine thing in January or February and have it here instead?
Or both?
Or we could do both, do you think, and fund both?
I don't see why not.
Okay,
I would love to say, let's do it all here, but then I'm afraid that
Yeah.
You're going to lose up there.
Yeah.
they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
I try very hard to get people to come to the one for the police officers. I definitely have a few people up there that
Could have used
could
it.
have definitely been here for that. Nothing. I couldn't entice them with, we'll pick you up, we'll bring you back, we'll feed you pizza. It's
Funny.
Interesting.
Well, then, we could offer the class, advertise and offer the Valentine class twice, once at Heaton Court, once here. And then that satisfies your people,
Yeah,
and then we'll get others for a bigger one.
I think it's we have to build the relationship
Yeah.
and get everybody comfortable, get people back, get people used to coming. Because I know that's what I've heard before, was sort of Heaton Court, us.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We're trying to break that down. So if we can duplicate it and then keep encouraging them to come, and right, if we can, if we need to line up transportation or whatever, we'll continue to work on that.
It definitely seems like a long-term project.
We're not going to fix it overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. So the craft person would, if it's okay with her, would be here for February after the Heaton Court one.
all right, I will reach out to Nana, and who will be the contact here for setting that up, or you'd want me to?
I will.
Okay,
And how about the poetry pottery? That's
oh, Leslie, that's,
poetry pottery person.
I like that. I think she's great, I think if you.
Well, how do you do pottery though? Without a
She would do it.
Pottery wheel.
Do it.
them to do
But
it?
it's a lot of work, but she wants to come and read from her poetry book. And then she has a slideshow presentation on her art. She's from West Stockbridge. I don't know if anybody knows her. I've spoken to her a few times over the last couple of years. We've entertained, she's applied to do the resident services coordinator position up there a couple of times. Boy, I didn't even think about telling her about
Yeah.
the director job
Talk about
here.
that shortly. Yeah.
So yeah, I would support you guys doing that one down here, and I try to get my poetry people down here that are interested in poetry and art.
Okay,
That sounds like a wonderful January event to me.
right. So maybe you could do the craft class for Valentine's, the smaller class up at your place in January, where we would do the poetry in January. And then in early February, we will have Nanette do the
All right,
craft.
so I'll contact Leslie and Nanette, and then I will introduce them to you.
Great.
Do you have one more for March? And then
Well, March, we have to do, McCarthy, we have to do St. Patty's Day.
Of course.
Oh, I'm all about that.
And we'll just have a St. Patty's Day party. I mean, there's nothing to say that our monthly event can't be a party, right?
And on the other side of the family's O'Neill, so hey.
Right. We'll have O'Douls.
Container.
Yeah,
Right.
But March could be a St. Patty's Day party.
yeah. With, again, audience involvement or wearing of the green or, I mean,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. There you have it. Great, when great minds work together. So we're going to have poetry in January. In February, we're going to have the craft. Everybody all set on that?
Yeah.
Jack, I had you down to also speak about addressing Council on Aging bylaws and stuff.
Yeah.
Questions and such.
I gotta clear my throat and then I'll be right with you. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Directly to you, is there any existing way that the Council on Aging is documented to follow, to proceed? Are there any written bylaws or?
Other than establishing a board of, Council on Aging board to oversee the Council on Aging, there's nothing else that I'm aware of.
And should there be?
I don't know. I don't think that there's any necessary requirements of bylaws.
Okay.
Or, bylaws isn't. Protocols.
Technical, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
but protocols. The reason I came up with, because I think individuals have to be protected and supported by a group that, that you won't take the hit because the former director, just wanted you to do this or not do this. And I observed, not just that example, but I observed a lot of things where you guys put your neck on the line as an individual, but there's so much more support if there's a small bureaucracy behind you. And also great things that great excuses for us. Well, I'm sorry, we'll put that number one on the agenda at the board meeting rather than having somebody flip you the bird because something didn't get done.
That is now how we're set up to move forward.
Pardon me?
This board is that now.
To establish that.
Decisions would happen here now. Now that we've got the board up, we're running our official board, this is how it would be.
Okay. Is there anything like a quorum has to be there that if somebody,
We have to
that the board must be an odd number? Is it stated anywhere? Or is that just an opinion that we've heard? You know what I mean?
generally, it's an odd number. The Board of Selectmen have appointed 5 people to this committee, so your quorum's 3 in order to hold your meeting and make decisions.
I personally, as a board member, would like to have that documented somehow.
Sure, it's in our bylaws that there is a Council on Aging board. You were appointed by the Board of Selectmen. It's all documented. So
Right.
Mass general law, as far as quorums and open meeting law, cover all that. So, yeah.
Okay. Again, I would like to have something written somewhere that says the procedures of the Council on Aging Board are according to the Massachusetts government bylaws or something
I
that,
don't have that really written for, you establish your boards within your bylaws and you operate your boards. I can give you a copy of the open meeting law information if that's what you're talking about, but.
I don't know really what I'm talking about yet, but I would like to suggest that if there's not something already written, that as part of our agenda to develop something like that and follow the proper protocols on how to have it approved by the selectmen.
Have what approved?
The way that this body operates.
So,
In particular, since now I think we're gonna be getting a director that his or her job description should be carefully documented. So this body can operate beyond its individuals. So when one of us leaves, do we need to get somebody? Who would say what the next step of this is if it's not written down as and documented or knowledge as to how we're operating? And I just think it would streamline a lot of our work together. And educate us also to say, we gotta, Nancy isn't here, is there, right now it's up to Chris to go to Nancy and pardon my language. No, I won't say that because we're on tape. Okay. But, it's up to Chris to go to Nancy and say, get here or else, and Nancy says, oh, you mean you're firing me? And that becomes animosity between people, which if Chris was able as a chairperson to say, look, it says here we need 5 people, Nance. Do you want to do it or not? Then it takes the pressure off of her and off of you. If we have a mini bureaucracy, I think bureaucracy is a good term, by the way.
right.
And I'd be willing to draw up a draft of how this operates. I've already contacted the Lee Council on Aging and the Great Barrington Council on Aging. They both have documents.
Oh,
Yeah, but those are in operations of a senior. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess you threw me off with the bylaws as far as how the senior center, right? I don't know what we have here for operational plans or whatever.
Yeah.
Those would be developed by this board.
Exactly.
Back to the board. I guess I'm just thrown off by what the board does. The board makes all the decisions. So if you guys feel as though somebody shouldn't be on the board or shouldn't, then the board makes all the decisions. And then your appointment is through.
But where does the board turn at this point in order to solve that vacuum? No,
There is no one to basically you guys would have to make a recommendation to the select board.
Okay,
as
We
a
would
board,
go to the select board to
replace somebody.
replace somebody.
yeah, just, when we bring up an agenda point, I just want to know where to operate, that's all. And right now, because it's brand new, is a great opportunity to really draw this up and say, here's a strong organization, we operate this, this way. Would you be interested in getting involved?
Would there be a way of getting how they do their thing and get
Right.
these how they do their
I would
thing?
think so,
And then
yeah.
we could take it from there.
That, yeah, just, and we as a board would say, or a person who's drawing up the document would say to the board, here's a suggestion that we don't do it this way because it's not appropriate here in
Is it a
Stockbridge.
legal document?
Well, I don't know, that's,
No, it's basically your own policies.
yeah,
Yeah, because when you said bylaws, those are governing
Right.
laws, regulations. You're right. We need to move away from that. Yes, you guys can establish your own policies for how the Council on Aging should run.
Yeah.
And obviously, what I need to do is make sure, like when we're spending grant money and other stuff, that it's within those buckets that are allowed.
Yeah.
Which obviously, we bring a new director up to speed on and stuff.
and again, just for all of our education, that very point that you said, okay, how are funds spent and allocated? Well, we must go to the town administrator, You know what I mean? Like right now, we're trying to beg a number out of you that you don't have
I
available.
just didn't, right.
No, I'm not, but there is nothing that says, okay, it's ultimately up to the town administrator and with the approval of the selectmen to, I don't know,
No, the funds are actually under your guys' control.
Right, and we'll.
that needs to be documented as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
The funds of the Council on Aging, because I took a little offense, I must say, that the last meeting to me became a luncheon for the police department and what I saw, which is fine, which is okay, but the Council on Aging money went to fund a luncheon for the police department and town hall, which is okay. Go ahead.
No, I mean, we had no way of knowing, because of a lack of a community, we're addressing those concerns.
Exactly.
I don't want to imply that we bought lunch for the police and the town hall. You just,
However, if there were a stranger who came in and saw the last half of the November meeting, they would say, oh, who paid for this pizza? And if we as a board said we're going to subsidize the pizza and refreshments for anyone who's there, well, that's okay. But if there were a stranger who looked at that and said, wait, what's okay. Now it's nickel and diming in that point. Okay. That probably wasn't a good example, but I just, again, I repeat that I would rather have some strong guidance as to how this board is going to proceed. And I think a lot of it is nebulous now. And as Ron said, I strongly agree with it. Let's go to a structure of Lee and Great Barrington
Right.
and say,
Did they send you anything on how?
no, I went to contra dancing and I saw that, okay, there's a real specific difference between the running of the community center in that case and the Council on Aging Board. There were, in that case, two separate entities, which we probably wouldn't go that far.
Right.
But unless we thought that best, and the same thing with Great Barrington. There's a very big difference between the Council on Aging and the running of the senior center with the director. And since we are, and this is what drove this, and I apologize for coming down on the luncheon because I see you're upset by that, but I took an outside eye, so I apologize for using that as an example. And I'd buy them all pizza because I think they're fabulous. Okay. But vacuums on how we proceed can create things like that. And that's what I want us to avoid. I mean, I've already observed town people flipping the bird to our town administrator and the administrative assistant. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous because there's no buffer for you, to say, well, I have to take it to the Council on Aging Board to make decisions. And I know why it happened because we want to get it up running fast. And boy, did we, So the highest praise for what we've done, but the next step, I just think needs some organization. That's my long-winded.
Well, I agree with you. I
And the other
agree with
thing to
you.
remember is that you're going to be, a director will be hired to run day-to-day operations. The board sets the policies and procedures that the director will operate under.
I agree with you.
That is what it is because, right, even though the director will, similar to the director in Great Barrington, ultimately the director answers to me, to this, paid employees work under me, but they're going to work under the policy of this board. Just like the fire chief, the highway director, any of them. So
That's fabulous.
Andrea, like how you work, your board sets your policies and procedures, and you're right. Get examples from other towns of the policies and procedures that are put in place.
And get something written down. I mean, what you said was absolutely spot on, and you know that, but there's no way that I would have known that
Yeah.
unless I went to the procedure and said, about just what you said was perfect.
It's even my job. The selectmen set the policies, procedures, and my job is to carry out the day-to-day operation of the town.
Yeah.
And that,
All I'm saying is that you were spot on. It ought to be written down to protect you
yeah.
and the director, who all of a sudden, comes, hey, Mike, Gremley's telling me that I can't do that. Well, it's his prerogative because the board approved it,
Right,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yep.
And I think our jobs, once we have a director, will be much easier because we won't be doing the nitty gritty of
Right.
planning the schedule and who can help with this and that.
Absolutely.
We'll do it.
Oh, coordinate
So-
the instructors, coordinate the
Exactly, so.
monthly reports back to you as the.
So we as a
grant and
board will
other-
have a very
Yeah.
different role.
Right.
Once we have.
And I just learned now that then that director would go to Mike for approval of all that rather than coming to us, right? Or
I'd be reviewing everything from budget to when they're hiring people that they'd work with me in the treasurer's office, making sure the paperwork's done. You guys don't need to do any of that piece as a board. Those are pieces that administrative functions will happen through the town.
right.
Policies you want the senior center to run under are really yours to create.
Sure. Yeah, a distinction of powers is, again, another thing that should be in this. And I'd be willing to, I've done this before for organizations. So, basically, you go to something that works in Utah and put your name on it. Well, not Utah, but, with your permission, I'll take the leadership and go to those two places, Lee and Great Barrington, and just see if they do have a document that we can
Yes,
begin to operate under.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah. Thank you, Jack, for bringing all that up.
Okay. Well, I don't like my friends and colleagues being chastised and called names and stuff,
Thank you.
It's not fun.
All right, so shall we move on to our, unless anybody has anything more on that subject? So should we move on to the review of the job description you all have in front of you? And that's probably, again, time isn't on our side if we want to get rolling on this, but you probably want to spend a little time other than sitting right here. Come up with-
I don't have one. I have two,
There you go.
I have two agenda, 2 minutes. Thank you.
I know there should have been enough for each of you to have one.
Yes, yes. There we go. We're all
This
set.
is I took the job description that we had. You can see where I crossed out coordinate the van driver schedules and instead inserted refer transportation needs of seniors to the regional transportation program. Other than that, it's the exact same job description that the town has had. So this job descriptions should remain fluid. So even though we could move on this. It doesn't mean that the job description cannot change as we go along. But this should be it still should be, is there anything glaring that's missing? Is there anything? Because obviously if we're gonna put it out, we need to put it out and say, here's the job description so people understand the general role that they're providing.
Should we take a chance to read it overnight and sort of, and reflect on it, or?
Yeah, we could schedule another meeting if we want. To make changes to this, everything's now done here at board meetings.
Yeah.
So,
Make a suggestion, we table this till next meeting?
Well,
But we probably want to hire somebody or
yeah.
at least
Get going.
begin.
because the first thing that's gonna we need a job description at least. Like I said, can we make some, yeah.
Today's meeting is a replacement for the one that wasn't in.
I have to go,
We have one scheduled for next week, I
the
think.
one thing that's important to discuss with you as you're running out the door is we need to know hours and pay. We get to know
so
that, right?
it's an 18-hour-a-week position. Because it's a non-benefited position. In Massachusetts, over 20 hours becomes benefited. So,
And the pay?
and the pay, right now I was thinking that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of anywhere from 20 to 25. And we had talked about that depending on what we're going to ask them to, are we going to require them to have their Serve Safe and others and take care of those programs? We used to serve those out. So, yeah.
Well, we would pay them separately for each certification that they get.
That could be a way of doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But I can actually, we can figure that piece out. The job description's the key. I could put a range of pay in a notice, depending on
Right.
qualifications, and then we can decide. So if I put it between $20 to $25 an hour, 18 hours a week, here's what we're looking to do. Here's the job description. We can begin advertising this.
Great. I think we have a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. That's our regular
That's our regular meeting next
November meeting.
Wednesday.
So that would work very well. If
Do we want to,
Then we schedule next Wednesday and have
Okay.
another meeting.
All right.
And we give everybody.
I'll be away.
okay.
You can't be away. You didn't give us notice.
I didn't give you notice.
We can find you now. That's true.
Just doing to you.
All right, so how about we table this and we'll discuss it next Wednesday? Okay?
Okay, maybe I'll get you any comments I have. I'll
Yes,
call you or something.
yes. Well, we can do, well,
That was just my feeling. Is everybody okay with that? That we delay it a week or?
Oh, yeah, no, I.
Yeah.
sure, no.
Because I think this is an important
Important,
decision.
it's too
Yes,
important,
I
yes.
agree.
Yes. But I would like to get it advertised as soon as we can. And I don't even know if this is a good time of year to do that.
It's always a good time of year to hire somebody.
Do that. Okay, well, does anyone have anything else?
Nope.
Okay,
No.
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.